So we have two parts of this lecture. Today we're going to be doing the theoretical part, and tomorrow we're going to be doing the practical part. Once you understand the theoretical part and the framework, the practical part does not take a lot of time, okay? So we're going to be doing the theoretical part, and we're also going to be purchasing the domain and hosting today, okay? So if domain and hosting, you're going to see the amount. So what I need you to do is to follow the tutorials. Just pay close attention. Today's class, there's not so much practical. The practical is in purchasing the domain and hosting, and trust me, it's very simple. However, there are some tips that might be important for you to actually purchase. So you don't have to practice it tonight, right? You don't have to practice it tonight, please. Just pay attention closely. Then when we're done with the class, you can now purchase yours. I'm going to tell you some tips if you're in Nigeria, in case you don't have a dollar card and you can't purchase, fine. If you're outside Nigeria, it's easy. I'm going to teach you all of that, but it's going to be easy. So before the class tomorrow, I expected you to have purchased your domain and hosting. Your domain for 1 year. If you want to purchase the 1 month hosting, is fine. Maybe because you want to do your practical, it's absolutely fine. So today's class is going to be more of that. Then tomorrow is going to be practical, right? But for tomorrow's class, I would need you to do me a favor. I believe that, I think I communicated it, that for you to be in this class, a laptop is very important. So for tomorrow's class, you might want to have your phone on one hand and your laptop on the other. What this means is you might be watching me doing it on the phone while I'm taking the class, and you just be practicing it on your laptop. I'm going to teach you step by step, and I will not we'll be doing it together. As I'm teaching you, I'll do it and say you should do it, and I'll make sure that you have done it before we actually move ahead. Like, that's how I'm going to carry you along. By the end of tomorrow, I want you to have your own website. So today we'll do the theory, we'll look at the web development introduction process, we'll look at the sitemap area, then we're going to be purchasing the domain and hosting. That's basically what the class is for today. So like I actually told you guys, the replay is going to be available, but the replay was there. If you purchase from most of you, like 90% actually went to the link to purchase, and there was an option, click on add replay. So if you didn't want to replay, which most of you didn't want, it's fine. The course is going to be upsold after this. So people that want it, I think at 7,500 or something. But for you that are already in the class, access to the replay is just an extra 3,000 naira, which is optional if you do want. If you don't want, it's fine. You would still you still get what you want. And so I believe I'm going to be explaining what you need. So in case you don't have the money, you might want to look for that domain and hosting. Very important. Even if it's for a month, it's not expensive, but I'll tell you, because you can learn and have your whole brain stuff, but you can't really tell if you can do it until you really practice. And trust me, you're going to enjoy it. Okay, I promise you that you're going to enjoy it. Okay, so let's dive right into it. I'm going to record my screen now. Oh wow, I've been recording already. I didn't know that. Okay, so it's fine. Let me be fine. And I'm also going to enable live transcript for those that might not be hearing me clearly, so that you can see it within there. All right, so welcome to the web development class, the 2 days web development class. Like I'd explained before, today we're going to be looking at the web development introduction, and then we're going to be looking at what I call the sitemap. You're going to be seeing what that actually means, and then we're going to actually go into getting our domain and hosting, which is the fundamentals for this. This class is going to be very interesting. If you have any questions, put it in the chat box and let me know, and I promise you I will attend to it. I'll stop whatever I'm doing and kind of attend to your question. Interrupt me as you like, anytime you like, okay? All right, so web development. Web development, or what is website? What is web design? Why do you actually need it? The world is web. Most of what you see, for example, Canva, the Facebook platform, which is very popular, whatever you see, most of them are web software, web applications, not software, sorry, they're web applications, right? And so the web development is literally the process of developing a website. Now, if you want to look at this from a broad perspective, there are so many ways we can look at it. Developing a website can literally help you solve quite a number of problems in your space. You don't have to develop a website for e-commerce alone or something. There are just so many reasons why a website will be important to you. But because we're focused more on online media in our organization, we're approaching it from the angle of web development or having a website being critical to helping your business move forward or the growth of your business. Web development is basically a critical element in digital marketing campaigns. I do a lot of pay-per-click ad. I do a lot of advertising. And so once you tell me you want to run an ad or you want to run an email campaign and you do not have a website, I kind of worry for you, because you might get results, immediate results you see, but you're almost wasting money, because there's no way you can track your leads and save them, nurture them, and reuse them. There's no way you won't have an accurate or a relatively accurate measurement of your efforts on the campaigns that you're running. So the thing with websites is, when someone comes to your website, there's a way you build your website and you set up analytics and all of that, that anybody that actually opens that website, you'll be able to get the information, things like where the person is opening it from and what kind of device the person is using, and some other factors that can really be helpful in improving or customizing your products for the growth of the organization that you're in, right? So developing your website basically involves creating and optimizing your website, which is making it one of the vital points of marketing. You'll connect your email back end to your website, you connect your social media, connect your ads and all of that. So it should never be an afterthought. It should be one of the top priorities. Even if you don't want to consistently update it, I feel you should have it there. But beyond that, looking beyond that, in this class, we're going to be creating personal websites. Why do you need a personal website? If you're in the creative industry or in the marketing space or in the tech space, it's just very important. It's just a place where you can handle to a large extent the narrative about yourself. So it just basically tells people who you are, what you do, and how to contact you. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't even have to be so much, right? And so many people in the creative industry like that. But aside individuals, even organizations. So the idea or the goal of this class is for you to learn how to build portfolio websites, at least for yourself or for organizations, and make money out of it. And then we look forward to you actually learning to subsequently build more, like an e-commerce website or something like that in the future. Okay. But the question is, what is web development actually? What goes into the process of designing a website? What is web development? Okay, website, web design, web development. What is it? Some people say they are coding for ages, they're web developers. So we say I'm a full stack. What does it really mean? What does it really mean? Right? Web development basically refers to the process of creating websites on the internet. And it's actually a broad there's actually a broad application of its uses. So you could create a single website page from Wix. If you know Wix is an easy drag and drop website builder, and you could create a website from there literally in an hour or less, or maybe a little bit more. And you see some people, they could painstakingly develop a massive website, and it would have taken them days or weeks to actually create. And both of them will count as web development. The truth is, most times when you look at the website in the surface value, like physically the front end, you might not be able to tell how long it took a person to create. You might see something that looks, this is just bland now, and they'll tell you they spent millions of naira to develop it. That's how funny website is. But I believe that you must have heard about web design, web development, and then you're confused. Maybe development, coding, maybe design, they'll be drawing. The truth is that these two terms have similar meaning. And like I said, some people tend to believe that web development is maybe for more technical things, you can write codes and all of that, and web design is just the surface thing. But to be honest, there's really no much difference. But for this class, we are sticking to web design, just using more visual surface level features to basically do the website. And we're sticking to web development as basically developing from scratch using codes. And I'm going to explain more about it later. So what are the components of web development? A website is basically a file stored in a server, right? That contains multiple websites. These servers are usually connected through the internet. So when you visit a website, you visit it using a browser. You go to your browser, maybe Chrome, Safari, or whatever, and the browser is designed to load and display that website on the screen from servers. I don't want to go so technical so that you're not confused, but there's a process to this. So when you put in that website, say for example, the techytrain.net, your browser or your internet service provider sends that report to your DNS. I'm trying to not be technical. If I'm going to technical, please do let me know, right? It takes it to your DNS. Or if you have gone through a Tech Up Girls course, I think we talked about how the internet works. For this class, maybe I'll just add it a bit so that you can see how the internet works. It takes to your DNS. Your DNS sends back to the service provider the IP address of that exact website, and then it goes through into connected wires to the servers, and then it brings up the information. Usually a website is composed, especially the front end, of three major things: the HTML, the CSS, and then the JavaScript, usually. And then it has the back end, which has a database and all of that. Try not to be confused. When I send you how the internet works, if you're not clear, you can ask me again. For those that watch the replay, I'll also put the how the internet works as a mini lesson under this, so you have it clear, right? So the internet it just stores those data and it brings it out to you, and that's what you see. But the speed at which it brings it out, at the speed of light, sometimes in few seconds, you're not able to interpret that. How did all of these things happen? How did all of these things go on? And then you mean all of these things happen in a few seconds and I saw the website? But really, that's what happens behind in terms of a website. But when you're developing websites, there are two primary options for you. The first option is basically coding from scratch, which is what was used for so many years. So before you can develop a website, you have to code. You develop all the website from ground up, right? You do the back end where databases will be stored. And then most times you see some people developing a website, you have people working on the back end, you have people working on the front end, you have people connecting both together, you have those doing the user interface, like how it's going to look, and sending it to those doing the front end. So it's usually a lot of system, and that's a lot of process. It also takes a longer time. However, thank God for technology, there's improvement. Improvement is constantly going on. And so we have things we call website builder. And these website builders, they work with content management system to create websites faster using simple tools and easier things for you to use, such that you do not have to know how to write a code to actually work with them. When we start working on the website, you're going to see some things where maybe basic knowledge of HTML or CSS can help you. You'll see that, right? But with this website builder, you can literally do everything: change the color, put the text, put the image, like everything, using a content management system. You might be wondering, what is a content management system? A content management system basically gives the building block for the website. So it lets you piece it together. It handles the coding for you in advance. So it just arranges like the foundation for you to now come and build anything you want to build on, right? Like I said, of course, you can, on a content management system, if you have coding, people that still know how to code, it doesn't mean that they know how to code and they don't use content management system. Most of them can code and still use content management system and even still use website builders, but you see that they can do further customization of it and modification because of their basic knowledge to code. So if you want to learn how to code or you're considering it, I can just encourage you to go take lessons. There's W3 schools, there's free code camp. Even if you can just learn, even if it's just HTML and CSS, just to, it will really go a long way. But of course, it's not compulsory. Like I said, you build your website without it. But then if you really want to, maybe you want to do something more and go so much more into this, having, even if it's a basic knowledge, not even advanced, of those two programming languages will really help you. Right? So like I said, you have the front end and the back end development. So when you build a website, it's more like you're building a house. On one hand, you see the walls, you see the windows, up and out, the painting, the doors. But on the other hand, there's a pillar under that you have to work on. If you break the walls of some houses, you see pipes where the wires have passed through, right, to connect to the socket you're seeing, that when you just on the light, it just comes, right? Those, for those utilities to work. So that's the same way a website usually functions. There are two levels: the front end and the back end. The front end development refers to the surface level elements, like things you can see, the way the photo looks, the text, the color, the schemes and all. While back end is where you lay all the behind the scenes, the technical aspect. It contains usually the database. So where would these things be stored such that when you call them up or you press that menu, it comes out, is at the back end. So it has the databases and some other functionalities that will make the front end work. All right. But when you're using a content management system, for example, things like WordPress, the beauty about it is it has taken care of the back end process for you. So literally, you just have to do the front end and you're good to go. So when you implement both the front end and the back end on the website, that's if you can, like I said, for the front end, the key programming languages are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those are the key programming languages for front end. Back end, you have Node.js, you have databases, and quite a number of them as well. There are different programming languages for both of them. So if you can implement both a front end and a back end development, those are people they call full stack web developers. So I'm sure you must have heard the word full stack web development or full stack web developers. That means they can work on both the front end and the back end. That's not a common fit to see. Most times you see people that are very proficient in the front end and some very proficient in the back end. So when they get a project, the people working in the back end are working in the back end. Those working in the front end are literally maybe using the UI to develop the front end. And so when they put it together, it just works. Or the back end develops and sends the front end and all of that. Like they work together as a team. It's not very common to see someone doing everything, but there are people that are full stack web developers, right? So if you want to do that or become that, I wish you all the best. Maybe this course will inspire you to want to be more. It's absolutely fine. So enough of the whole stories and plenty gist. Let's dive right into what the web development process is. The web development process are the steps that you take or you require to developing the website that we want to develop or that you're going to develop. The first thing is to develop a plan. I see many people that want to develop a website. The first thing they do is they buy the domain, they buy the hosting, and they start doing. And when they go there, they say, "Oh no, this is not working. No, I should have put about here. No, this one should not work." It's going to waste your time. Number one, it's going to waste your time. You're going to be tired. You're going to be bored, right? The first thing you should do in developing a website is to lay out a plan. In laying out a plan, you want to list your specific goals. What do you want this website to achieve? It's very important because your goal will determine the type of website you want to build. Building an e-commerce website, when I say an e-commerce website, that's more like a shopping website where people can buy stuff and pay. It's different from building maybe a portfolio website. The e-commerce website is going to be exchanging currency or value or or money or something. And so you're going to need payment gateways. You're going to need maybe a shop or something. Or it's just different. Is also different creating a learning management system. So what is your goal? Do you want to get people to buy stuff? Do you want to just educate people? Or sometimes it might just be, I want to showcase my work, or I want to showcase my writing, a blog site. I just want to write and then put it out there. That's a blog site. Or someone is saying, oh, I just want to showcase my writing or something, or my work, my videos, like put it out there. And it's just the one place for my video. So you want to have your goals. And usually the goal of an individual is not usually one. It can be a lot. I beg you in the name of God, if you're developing a website for anybody, ensure you're clear about their goals. Don't just jump in and say, oh, I'm okay, I want to do a website. Okay, yes, fine, 50,000, bring it, and you start doing it. 90% of the time, you're going to be frustrated because at the end of the day, you don't know their goals and they're not satisfied. They're not sure what they want, and then you're going back and front. It wastes your time, it drains your energy, and it's absolutely not worth it. So usually when you have the goal and you understand it, we'll look at the next step and other things. It will help you. So throughout the rest of the development process, once you have your goal, you keep your goals in mind. Also, aside your goal, it's also important to know who the target of the website is. You want to build a website, and they said it's a shopping website for university students, and then you go and be putting just the dresses or old mama. They don't want to see it. They're not interested. It's boring. Maybe in your store that it looks very fine, but it's not appealing to their eyes. You need to have something that is appealing to that generation, that age, right? So who are your target audience? Okay, your target audience are old people or people 50 years and above. And on your website, the font that you use, the font size is 10. How will they see it? Even with their glasses, do you want to blind their eyes? They will just say, please remove this thing. I cannot see, I cannot see, I cannot see. You must be exceptionally exceptional for them to say, please come and read it for me. This thing is important. So you want to put that into consideration. What are your goals and who are you trying to reach or attract to the website will determine, because you might have a fantastic offer, a very fantastic offer, but because of your creative, that's the website, it might not convert for them. Okay, right? Or it might be too strenuous for them. So what are the questions you have to consider in trying to develop a plan? What is the goal of the website? Who is your audience and what do you want them to do on the website? Ask them these questions, take note of them. If you want to screenshot this, please go ahead and screenshot it. What's the goal of the website? Who is your audience and what do you want them to do on the website? What type of website are you building? Most times you see people that have a blend of all. I want, yes, to have a portfolio. They should know who our company is and what we do, but I also want them to also purchase. Then I also want us to have membership where we can have inner circle, and those as members, we have access to restricted content. Only those that pay can access it. You want to know what kind of website are you building? Then what content are you aiming to publish and what volume? If you have a website that is going to be heavily dependent on videos, the hosting size, you're going to the size of your hosting, that's the storage, is very important. So maybe you're building an e-commerce site that is expected to have 10,000 people every month, and you're having a bandwidth of like, let's say 10 gig. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's not going to be able to accommodate them. So what kind of content are you aiming to publish? You also want to know, what is the purpose of the content? Are you just publishing the content for people to know, or do you want them to take an action? It will determine some functionalities. Maybe you want to have live chat. You want to have people to get to reach you immediately. You go to some website and the next thing, live chat is popping, WhatsApp is popping, everything is popping, right? Or stuff like that. You want to know that. Or a newsletter or something. Then you also want to know, how will you structure your website for best navigational experience? So we're going to be looking at some websites. Some websites are just one pager. That's just one page. You see everything on that one page. You just scroll and you see them, right? While some websites, they have different pages for different things. They're not sectional. Okay, so you want to know that. And then people can have a desire, I want to build heaven and earth. Then what is your budget? I just have 20,000 naira. Can you just manage and just sow a seed in my life? Do you understand? So it can be a little bit quite unrealistic and all of that. So you want to know what the budget they're working with is. So usually for me, when I have the answers to these questions, right, I now ask you, okay, what is your budget? So if you tell me your budget, I will let you know based on your budget and what you desire, this is what is realistic or this is what is feasible. So maybe they might want to up their budget, or their budget might actually be enough for what they demand, or it might even be less than their budget, right? So answering these questions, kind of interfaces, web development, marketing, and basically those that are in charge have the purchasing power. It helps you determine your client's priorities so that they can make informed decision. When you're even telling them all those things, to make them know that, oh, this person knows what they're doing. Anybody that is not patient to answer these questions or to work with you to clarify, to answer these questions, leave the person alone. For some places where you get some job, usually you can convert this to a questionnaire, maybe a Google form, as simple as that. Is see now just how many questions, just send to them that, please, can you just fill this for me quickly? I just want to have an idea of what you can do to know if it's something I can actually help you do. So you and I do not have to waste our time, so or something, just be polite and send it to them and appeal to them to just take their time to fill it. It should just be as direct as possible. The second step, after you have developed a plan, the next thing is to create a site map, right? For a site map, I'm going to be showing you a site map in the next lesson shortly. So the site map is basically planning the actual layout of your site, right? For those in UI, they use Figma and all of that to do the UI. I do UI as well. So we use Figma, and then we also do the experience, that's the UX. But when I want to build websites like this on WordPress, I use pen and paper. I always tell my students, start with the end in mind. Always start with the end in mind. So when you have developed when you have drawn it, don't ever start trying to figure out. Start with the end in mind. Yes, as you're going, there are some things that you might need to modify. Absolutely fine, it's okay. But start with the end in mind. And I'm going to be showing you what a sitemap is. I love to write a lot, so I use a pen and paper, like I said. But you can also use your Microsoft Word, or you use your notepad, right? But ultimately the sitemap is basically giving you an idea of what your site will look like, so that when you're doing it, you're faster in working. I will show you what it looks like very, very soon. The third step is, once you have you've developed your plan, you have your site map, the next thing is to purchase your domain. Now, it's important you purchase your domain before any other thing. After those steps, if you notice, you didn't purchase your domain before those steps, because the goals and understanding those things will help you know what domain name that it's important for you or to you. Your domain name is basically your site URL. For Techy Train is the techytrain.net, right? So what is your site URL? Most times people tend to use their business name, which is absolutely fine, as their domain name. But your domain name, I'm going to be explaining some features that are important for your domain name. So you can purchase a domain from different platforms that sell domains. There's GoDaddy, there's Namecheap, there's SiteGround, there's just so many. There's Localhost. We're going to be using Namecheap for this class, but if you're in Nigeria, sometimes, because we're not able to pay in dollars with our card, and if you don't have a dollar card, you might want to use Localhost. Localhost is Nigerian. Their currency is in Naira. However, I'm not very comfortable with their service, to be honest. They easily have downtimes, and I just don't exactly love their service. I've used Namecheap for a while and I like it. I also have some domains on GoDaddy. I've worked with Bluehost as well. Another platform I like is SiteGround. But like I said, if you don't have a dollar card, it might be a challenge, or PayPal may be a challenge to work on these platforms. So we're going to be using Namecheap for this class. I'll show you how to, but it's almost the same thing all over. So in case you don't have that card, you might want to use Localhost. The prices are in Naira for you. So when you go to this is a theory, remember, I'm going to be showing you the practical. So when you go to those platforms, you check if your domain name is available. If it's available, great for you. If it's not available, you might need to tweak some things to adjust to make sure it's available. Maybe .com might not be available. You want to try .net or .org. Now, Those suffixes are they basically tell a little bit more about your domain and where it's domiciled. .com is usually for companies for profit, or individuals for profit, right? Why .org is usually for organizations, non-profit organizations. Remember, note, I didn't say non-governmental, because you can have a private organization that is non-governmental, but it's for profit. So it's for non-profit organizations. We also have .edu, which is usually for educational institutions, that's for schools and all of that. Then we also have .net. .net is usually used most times for tech companies, but even with tech companies, you have .ai, which is artificial intelligence. But aside these common ones, we also have things like .biz, .business, .client, and all of that. But usually for most of this, you also have .ng. You have .ng is .nigeria. You have .com, .uk, .com.ng, and all of those kind of things. But there are different ones, but most popular is .com. Most likely when they want to check for you, they'll check with .com first before any other thing. So if you don't find that, you can want to see other ones similar. But the truth is that a .com domain name is significantly cheaper than a .net. The difference between a .com and a .org, maybe $2, or just the difference is not so much, but for .net, maybe a little bit more, so maybe $5 or more. Then .ai, of course, they're more expensive. There's a whole .africa, so there are different domain names, and the domain name also determines the price. But aside those suffixes for the domain name, it's also important that when creating a domain name, it is clearly associated with your brand. And it is very, very important to keep it as short as possible. Longer domain names, aside the fact that it makes it harder for users to remember, it also will affect your search engine optimization. Try to keep it short. Try to keep it short. As much as I love that, if you notice, almost on all platforms, I will always write my full name, Excellence Enrica Joshua. When it came to my website, I had to stick with excellencejoshua.com. So as much as possible, just, please, as much as possible. And I'm going to be talking to you guys why it is very important to have your own domain name. Save your domain name. If your name is, let me see, Orabel in the mail form. So have your domain name and save it. Even if you're not building a website yet, you don't know what the future will hold. So most times you want to just save it. It won't cost you more than $10 to $15 every year, just once every year. Even if you don't want to develop it, but just have your domain name saved. This, and if you're a lady and you're looking at getting married and you're looking at changing your name, you might want to also be careful in that area. Okay, so you want to be careful. So you might not want to really significantly put your surname, or you want to tweak it a bit, whatever works for you. But I'm just saying that so you don't waste money on later. You'll not be like, oh, that's not my name again, or it's not more relevant, and you build something around this. That's side talk. Now, after you've chosen your domain name, if you're not going to be using a content management system, you will need to start building your back end, right? So you build your back end and all of that and stuff like that. So you can begin coding, but we're going to be using WordPress. And like I said, the thing about WordPress is that it's kind of pre-existing. They've worked on your back end for you, right? You don't have to hand code. They've worked on most of these things for you. And all you need to do is just focus on working on the front end. But if you are coding, you need to, the back end, you need to set up the storage, if you're collecting forms, set up cookies, and so much more. But it is a very important step in the development process, especially if you're going to be having people, if you're going to be building an e-commerce site, or you're going to be having exchange of data. Those things have to be stored somewhere. You have to have a way that kind of to get back to you. Once you're done with your back end, you now begin to build your front end. So it's basically setting the parts of the websites that people are going to visit, the wallpapers, the Outlook, and all of that. That's basically what you're going to be doing. So if you're using a content management system, it might not be too technical for you, which is what we're going to be doing. You can just build your website using a website builder to get that done. Then the last step is when you're done with that, you launch your website. If you're building a website for somebody, you want to send it to them to have a look and be sure everything is all right, and then you launch your website. Now, if you launch your website, most times it doesn't end there. Usually from time to time you keep updating, re-optimizing, and all of that to get the site to actually be visible on site engines. Now, this whole process I've explained to you, this 6-step process might seem overwhelming, and it might be like, oh, all of these things, don't have to do all of them. But like I told you, you don't have to. There's a software out there that's so easy to use. Virtually everyone can create a successful, unique, professional looking website using WordPress. Virtually everyone that is ready to, and that's what my goal is for you by the end of this class. WordPress is a content management system that allows you to build and host websites, right? It contains what we call a plugin architecture. I'm going to be explaining what a plugin is, and a template system, so you can customize your website to fit your business, your blog, portfolio, or online store, or whatever it is that you want to do. Kelechi, I can't go back to slide 2 and 5. I'm sorry, we're in slide 19, so we can go back there. What's the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress? So if you go to search for WordPress on Google, you're going to see WordPress.com. You'll see WordPress.com if you look at it. Let's quickly do that. So if I open another tab and I just type WordPress, you see there's WordPress.com, but if you scroll down, you see WordPress.org. Did you see that? WordPress.com, and you also see WordPress.org. So for most people, they might be wondering, which one should I use? What is WordPress.org and what is WordPress.com? The difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com has to do with who is actually hosting your website. That's just what it is. So if you host your own website or blog on you can host your own website on WordPress. Sorry, you can host your own website or blog on WordPress.com.org through a third-party hosting provider. So right now, we're going to be using Namecheap, like I said. So you might want to use GoDaddy or Google Host or whatever. So once we have purchased the hosting and the domain, we're going to download the WordPress software, right? But of course, we've had the domain name to get the hosting, and then it is managed on that server. Do you understand? So that's basically what WordPress.com does. It's hands-on. So that's what WordPress, sorry, this is supposed to be what WordPress.org does for you. With WordPress.com, they offer to host your website for you, right? You don't have to download anything. If you want to get a domain from them, you can, but the basic host it. And if you notice, most people that have blog sites, they use this. So it could be something, instead of your website being www.excellencejoshua.com, you have www.excellencejoshua.wordpress.com. That's what WordPress does, right? But you can always upgrade to your domain and have it like this. But usually your hosting is by WordPress.com. Like, you get your hosting, you pay, your hosting, it might be paid, or they also have a free plan on WordPress.com. But if you're using third-party providers, it's WordPress.org. Right? That's what WordPress is all about. But before I go in details about WordPress, okay, let me just finish what it is. Then, Kelechi, I'll go back and take the web development process steps again so you can get that. So WordPress.org is ideal if you want full power and customization and controlling your site. With WordPress.org, you kind of have to a large extent, maybe 90% veto power to do your thing, purchase, set your domain. Is more flexible. But with WordPress.com, you're restricted within WordPress, what they have, what they do, and all of that. Although it's easier, but it's because most of the work has been done for you, it's easier to use, it's simple. And most people that start blog sites, they start with it. The customizations are there, but they're not as flexible as WordPress.org. And like I told you, WordPress.com has a free and paid version. So if you want to stick to the free version, you can, but you can't upload custom themes or plugins. You just have to work with what they have, and then your domain will have the WordPress subdomain. But then if you want to upgrade, you can upgrade and have a customized domain name. And I think by the time you look at it on the long run, you'd have just wanted to use WordPress.org. gotten your domain and hosting and just built with WordPress.org already. So that's basically the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com. The software we're going to be using on this website is WordPress.org. So for the sake of Kelechi, the web development process, step 1, you develop your plan. Step 2, you create a sitemap. Step 3, you purchase a domain name. Step 4, you build your back end. Step 5, you build your front end. And finally, in step 6, you launch your website. I hope you got that now, Kelechi. So now that's basically the general thing about the website. The next thing I want to talk to you about quickly is what we call the website team. When you want to build a website or when you're designing a website, I see designing a website as building a house. That's basically how I see it. I see designing a website as building a house. So when you're building a house, I don't know if we have an architect in this class, but if you're building a house, the first thing you will see, the first thing you will do is not to buy a land. You buy land. If you don't have a land, how will you build the house, right? You identify the land you want to buy and you buy that land. When you buy the land, if it's bushy, you clear the bush. After clearing the bush, or while they're clearing the bush, the architect is drawing a plan. If you do not submit a plan to the land office or the whatever, I think, yeah, they call them land office in Nigeria. I don't know what they call it in your country. If you don't submit the plan to them, they will not approve and you can't build the house. So the architecture is basically how the house will look, but on paper. So you send them that file, they approve. So once they clear the land, the what they call it, the space, the grasses or the bushes on the land, you now put in your foundation. You see them digging grounds, putting blocks, putting rods, putting pillars, depending on how high your house is going to be and what your house is going to carry. The foundation that is used for a 3-story building or a duplex is different from a bungalow. The one for a 3-story building is going to be deeper under the ground than for a bungalow. So you put the foundation and all of that. Once they finish the foundation, the next thing they begin to do is begin to put the pillars. So they put the pillars and then they start putting the blocks around and all of that. And then when they finish the blocks around, now if you notice that when they are putting the blocks, they leave the space for the window. They are working with the architectural design. They are not guessing from their head. Is what they are working with, the architectural design is what they are doing. So you see them, all those spaces, they leave the space for window, they leave the space for the door, they leave the space for, everything. And then they keep going like that based on the architectural design. Then when they get to the roof, the carpenter goes and then puts the using the planks or wood, he does the roofing. And then once they finish the roofing, that's when I think they begin to put the windows and all, and then they plaster it. And no, I think when they are putting the windows, they're also putting the electricals. So the electrician comes and begins to run the wires inside the wall of the house, through the ceilings, through the roof, everything. They put the wiring, they do the wiring inside before you now put the ceiling or something. I'm not a builder, right? So you can go and watch how to build a house on YouTube or something, but I hope I'm doing a good job. But you're going to see where I'm going, because I pick lessons from everyday issues of life. And when I develop a website, or I see myself developing a website, I see myself developing, I feel myself building a house, because it's actually a house. So when they finish and they put they put the windows, they plaster, and all of that. And then you now start talking about the finishing. You do the painting. Even when you do the painting, even before you do the painting, those holes where they've put wires for electric, you put the sockets, you put all the sockets there, you put whatever you want to put, and then you do the finishings and all of that. And then you can do the interior if you like, or you move into the house like that and just hang curtain wherever you have. That's just a simple illustration of how a house is built. It's the same way a website is built. The process of identifying the land that you want to build a house is basically the process of identifying your domain and securing your domain. Just like you pay for the land to secure the land, is how you pay for the domain to secure a space to have your website on the World Wide Web, right? So you pay for that space to secure your site on the World Wide Web. So once you pay for that, you clear the ground. The clearing of that ground where it is, or where you're building the house, is like purchasing the hosting. You're getting the hosting to get it. So your domain, for example, the house you're building is on number 11 Shegun and Wolowo Streets, right? If I stand here and you tell me it's number 7 Shegun and Wolowo Street, Victoria Island, in my head I have the address, but I'm not physically in that position. However, number 7 Shegun and Wolowo Crescent or Street or whatever has a land. It is somewhere, it is tangible. But it's possible to have an address and it's in the air, it's floating in the air. So that's how you can have a domain. It's an address, but there's no land attached to it yet. So having an address without having a land attached to it is like having a domain without hosting. So where will you build the house? Where will you lay the foundation? Where will you dig? So that's how it is. So you have the address, you have the deed, but then you do not have where the land is. So when you have the address, you can now identify where the land is. So you clear it. And then once you've cleared it, clearing the land, you clear it, and then you begin to put the foundations, dig the foundation. In this process of web development that I'm doing with you, if it's for the coding, it's different for me. But in this process, it's more like, in the coding aspect, it's more like doing back end. But in this I'm explaining to you, is more like now installing WordPress. So WordPress has that structure where everything, you put the pillars, is what will hold every other thing to the website. So once you put the pillars, like I said, once you put the foundations, you begin to put the pillars and erect it. If you go to some houses, you will see that the edges of the houses are not sharp. They are not like square edge. They are like curved. I don't know if you understand. They are curved. When you are building the house, you did not put the block to make it curve like that, no matter how you try to plaster, if it's straight, it is straight. That is what we call the theme. That putting it is how, if you put a window and you put the space you left from the window is 6 by 7 inches, there is no way a window of 3 by 4 inches will enter that space. That's basically how the website theme is. So the website theme is that structure you're putting together on top of that foundation. That is what the website theme is. But then when you finish, that's not the end of it now. You now have to start putting the electricals, right? You're putting the wires and all, putting those things, the wires, you put the wires to put it inside, they'll bring the light, you're putting the, whatever it is, all those extra things you put, those are called plugins. But notice, that's the wire, so that's not the socket you put inside. Those are just the wires you're putting in before you start plastering and covering everywhere. That is what we call plugins. I'm going to be explaining more in details before the end of this class. Plugins. Those are what are called plugins. So now, once you have put those plugins, then because those wires are there, that is why you can put a socket, and when you press the socket, light comes on. If those wires are not there at the back end, even as you have the structure, it's fine, you put everything, you put your windows, even if you press this, if you put a fine socket, no matter how fine it is, if you press it, no light will come. That's what plugin does. So plugin enhances the functionality of your website. So you want to have rainbow lights in your website, you want in your room, you want to have ceiling fan. If you do not put the space for it when you're putting the electrical, when you start doing the finishing, you can't put ceiling fan to work. That's how plugins is. So but you know that you can also decide not to have a ceiling fan in your room. You just want the ceiling to be straight up, and you just use your standing fan. That's your choice. It's optional. That's how plugins are optional. There are different types of plugins, and it just depends on what you want to use. And then using those plugins or those functionalities you put, you can now decide, oh, okay, I'll use an energy saving bulb. My bulb will be 500 watts. I don't want 100 watts. I want my room to be very bright. Okay, okay, that's fine. This is what I want. Now there's something called website builders. Those website builders just enhances those things. They are more like, okay, now I want to paint yellow. Paint this side yellow, paint this side here, paint this like this. That's how it works. And at the end of the day, you have your websites. I think I deserve a clap for that illustration. That's basically how building a website, um we like, what's the word now, kind of, it's, that's how to align it with building a house. It's just like building a house. So like I said, the team is erecting those blocks and putting it together. So it's basically the foundation for the complete design of the website. It includes things like the typography, the color palettes, the headers and footers, the backgrounds, and all other things you can think about, right? And other things you can think about. But there are different types of teams. There are different types of teams. There are different types of teams that exist. And you, to help you pick a good team, there are some things that you have to take note of that I'm going to be sharing in the next slide. I use the acronym KEYS for the first one. It's basically keep it simple. Keep it simple. Sorry, you're not stupid, but just an acronym, right? Websites that are too busy take the user away from the desired call to action. So you want what you're trying to, the message you're trying to put out there to be clear. You want it to be visible. So make sure that your call to action is clear. Don't give them headache in trying to navigate. And where is your about us? Where do I see? I could not find your number on your website. I could not, you don't want that. So just keep it simple. And then, so you want a website that, you want a team that is simple, that is not too, you don't understand this, you don't understand that. Then you also want a website that has developer supportability. When we start developing on the website, I'm going to show you, you're going to see there are thousands of teams on WordPress. Some are free, some are free, some are paid. Blessing, I said a team is that you might need to get the replay to understand the team. I told you the team is the foundation. It's basically like that pillars. There is no one single definition for it. I just explained the illustration of what it is. It is what you use to build it. Basically, when you put the house, once you've done the foundations, you start erecting the blocks. Okay, this is how many bedrooms I want. This is where I want the window. This is the kind of window I want, and all of that. That's basically what the team is for your website in terms of illustrating and building a house. So you want a team that has developer support availability. You want to see when last was this team updated. If you see a team that they said last updated 10 weeks ago, no, like 5 years ago, please run, because most likely WordPress is constantly updating, right? Most likely what they have now might not be compatible with what you currently have. So you want to see a team that has developer supportability. You also want to see a team that is mobile responsive, right? Most people will view your website from their phones. So you want to look for a team that is extremely adaptive. You also want to look for teams where a team that can work with so many plugins, right? Very, very important. So for example, most email service should have most websites should have an email service provider. As a simple one is MailChimp. MailChimp has quite a good free plan, right? So it's very important that you kind of, if you have a team that cannot accept MailChimp, then something is wrong, because almost all team does, right? So that's why I said it is important to have your sitemap. When I was explaining the illustration of building a house, everything they build in that house is based on the architectural design. You can't build a house without architectural design. Do not do nonsense. Put staircase upside down and all of that. So you need to have your site map. You need to have your site map. Very important. Okay, and then you want a team that is cross-browser compatible. Now, when I started learning how to build websites initially, I built one extremely beautiful website, but I realized that quite a number of, some people were saying it's not opening on their phones. Some were saying it was opening. It was quite confusing. I checked my phone, it was opening. I was later able to find out that those that were using iPhones were the ones that could not access it. And it wasn't just that they were using iPhones, it was because they were using Safari browser on iPhones. So I realized that those features were not accessible to them. There were also some courses I put out, and I realized that if we had used a HTML, embedded HTML, those using Safari browsers will not see that video. So you want to be sure that whatever you're using has cross-browser compatibility, and somebody is not saying your site is down, I'm not seeing it. Okay. So those are the 5 key things you want to look at when choosing your theme, and we're going to be practicalizing this, so you see it tomorrow. Then what are plugins? I've explained the general meaning to you, but basically plugins, like I said, are apps that allow you to add new features and functionalities to your website. So just similar to the way mobile apps do for smartphones. So you have your mobile apps to your phone. For example, I have a mobile app that takes my schedule and reminds me. I have a mobile app that tells me how I use my phone, my app usage. I have a mobile app voice recorder. I have Instagram, all of that. That's just as mobile apps are to your smartphone. That's how plugins are to your WordPress website, right? So usually you hear people say, oh, I want to do this on my website. So there's a plugin for that. Some plugins are free, some are paid, some are free, but to access some other features, you have to pay for them, right? So WordPress is designed so that other developers can add their own code to it. So the WordPress plugins basically offers different sets of hooks and filters. Most plugins are not developed by WordPress themselves, but they work with WordPress. And to be honest, they add great functionality to your website. Now, very important, this WordPress page builder is very important because, well, talking about developing a website without coding, this is basically will I call it the alpha and omega to developing a website without coding, a beautiful website. They are called WordPress page builders. What are they? What are WordPress page builders? Basically, they are plugins, actually, they're not themes, so they are plugins that allow you to create and edit and customize your website layout without writing any page, any line of code. They are designed to be easy to use, such that you can just drag and drop widgets or elements to pre-designed templates and build what you want to build. There are quite a number of page builders, but the question is, why should you use a page builder? So for number one, for me, I feel it is very easy to use. It is very simple, and it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So it's more like pre-built stuff for you, but it's not pre-built and rigid. It is pre-built, but it's also flexible. It is also flexible. There are quite a number of web page builders. There are quite a number. There's Beaver, there's Seed Pro, there's WP Bakery, there's the popular one we know, which we're going to be using most likely, Elementor, and all of that. All of them work. There's Stripe Architect and all of that. All of them work in a similar way. Basically, drag and drop and modify. Right, that's basically how it works, right? But just maybe different, because different producers are different, there are tweaks to it, but they are all kind of similar, and they just help you to build fantastic websites. I've talked about how amazing these page builders are, so you might be wondering, do they have disadvantages? Yes, they do. Like I've illustrated here, some need to load additional CSS and JS, and CSS, JS means JavaScript, by the way. CSS, I think, is cascading style sheet here. Those are the stylings for the website. CSS is basically the styling. JS basically gives that functionality. So when you go to the website and you click on that button and it zooms in and out, that's JavaScript, or it has those movements. JavaScript just gives those kind of functionality. CSS is what gives it the color, the alignment, all of those type of things. So because those are what page builders do to modify, sometimes they have additional load, and of course it increases the bandwidth. That's it takes so much of the storage, and so your website might be slow to load, which might affect visitor experience. And then of course, when it's ranking, it might hurt your ranking in Google. Those are some disadvantages of page builders. There's also not all page builder, I'm saying some. There are also some page builders that do not work well with some themes. You use a page builder for some themes and it just breaks your website. It's just not working, right? They might also have some security issues for some, but the ones I've explained to you are what they call it, are key. They're quite popular and quite good. Most page builders are free or have a freemium plan, most of them. But like I said, freemium plan, there are some things you cannot access unless you pay for the premium plan. And then you want a page builder that they are constantly updating. So you don't build a website and one day they just crash, or the founder dies or abandons, and so you're left alone and you can't update and you have to redesign the website again, or the person that you built it for begins to feel bad that you did nonsense for them. So that's what page builders are. But for this our class, we're going to be focusing on using the Elementor page builder. And so I want to explain to you what the Elementor page builder is basically one of the, I consider one of the most popular page builders used in WordPress. Is a drag and drop editor. Like I said, it's a plugin that helps you create beautiful WordPress websites, right? Can create blog posts. It's just very amazing, and we're going to be looking at it shortly. We're going to be using it. The core Elementor plugin is 100% free. It's 100% free, and we'll see that we can get it from our wordpress.org. However, there are some features that are limited that you can't access unless you pay for the pro, and the pro, I think the price starts from $49 annually. Okay, that's annually per year. But trust me, with the free, there's a lot you can still do. Like the free version, there's a lot you can still do with it, but more functionalities you get to the pro. With the Elementor theme builder or page builder, you can design a whole website, the header, the footer, the pages, everything, which is what we're going to be doing here. You can even, if you have a WooCommerce store, e-commerce, Elementor has a WooCommerce builder that can give you the same flexibility, and it just has an aesthetically pleasing site for you. So in this our class, in this our 2-day class, I'm going to be teaching you practical steps to develop a website. We're going to be using WordPress, we're going to be using Elementor, and our domain and hosting are going to be purchased from Namecheap. We're going to be developing a website for a legal organization. The organization is more like a social enterprise, but they kind of dish out legal information. So you know your rights, you know how things work, you understand the law better. That's what we're going to be working on for this class. So now let's get practical, okay? I was going to use another tutorial for you, another platform. I was going to do a church website, so I was going to use that, but the owner of the website needed it earlier than I researched. So I've completed the website for the person. She just wanted something fast, just do something simple, and so I have to use another platform. And the person's platform I used, I'm getting to use Techy today. She only confirmed yesterday. She just sent me the contents today, safe by afternoon. So because she just answered my questionnaire today, I think at about 3-4 p.m., there was no way I could develop her sitemap, but I want to show you what it really is. Your sitemap is a file where you, like I said, you provide it, like your architectural design, how it's going to look like. In this website that I want to do, it's the plan I had for it was creating a 5-page website. So looking at what she had discussed with me, I knew that the website will have a homepage. The homepage is where you will land once you click on the website. I knew that the website should have an about page. Let me enable my chat box. I knew that the website should have an about page. I knew that the website should have a programs page. It's a ministry. It's more like a church thing. So they have programs, they don't have services. And then I knew that the website should have a blog because she writes a lot. It's my mom. She writes a lot. So I knew it should have a blog and then a contact page. Okay. So in developing a sitemap, in developing your website, it's important that you're prepared. This logo here by the side is her logo. It's my mom's ministry. The ministry is led by my mom. Let me not say own. It's not own. It's God that owns it. So this is the logo. This is the logo of our ministry. So some key things you need to have before you start developing your website is to ensure you have the logo of what you want to develop. I'm going to show you some things. I'm going to be using some practical websites immediately after this to show you some things. The logo has to be in PNG format without a background, or SVG format, but please stick to PNG, simple, or SVG. And it has to be ready to resize. You have to be ready to resize it if need be using Canva. You also want to ensure that you have the brand colors that are required. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you some things now. So you go and practice your Canva after this. So tomorrow, will not waste plenty time when we're developing the website. So you want to know the colors that you use, that you need for the website, or the brand colors. Most times you can get the colors from the logo. Other times you need them to send you the brand colors, or you let them know what the colors they want you to use are. Then you also want to have all the content in an editable document, maybe Microsoft Word, and saved somewhere. Actually, it's not, if it's not your website. Even if it's your website, it's not when you're developing it, you're thinking, what could be the vision? You type for your head, you cancel. Write all of them down, save them in your Microsoft Word, and open them somewhere so that you just go there and copy and paste. Then all the images you want to use for the website, just put them in a folder. You might not use all. You need logo, you might need pictures for the gallery, you might need your own picture as an individual. Just put them somewhere. You might not need all, but just put them in a folder so that when you start developing, you're not going, what folder is that in? Where is that in? What's the name? You want them in a folder and in one place. Tomorrow, when we're developing the website, I'm going to be explaining some key things about search engine optimization, why you should label your images appropriately before you upload them to the website. I'm going to be showing you all of that. So those are things you need prepared before you start developing the website. But how will you know the images you need? Right? How will you know the images you need? How will you know the content that you need if you do not have a sitemap? This is an example of a sitemap, of the sitemap I use for Blessing. Are you taking screenshots or are you listening to me? Please listen to me and take notes. I'm not talking verbatim. I'm not reading what I'm saying. Can you listen to me and take notes? If there are points you need to screenshot, and like I've told you, for this class, for this sitemap, it's not what we're using for our website. It's just a similitude. We're developing a legal website. This is just for a church that I had done, but we're not going to be using it for our practical. So I just want you to understand what a sitemap is. So please pay attention. It's more important than screenshotting my slides. It's not my slide though. Most of the things I'm saying are not there. So this is an example. And like I told you in this slide, that we'll be creating 5 pages: the home page, the about page, the programs page, the blog, and the contact page. 5 pages. I didn't say sections, 5 pages. And I'm going to show you the difference. So in this page, if you look at it, the logo is going to be up here. I'm going to have this section up. The logo is going to be up here. There's going to be the home, about, programs, blog, and contact. And I want it in such a way that any page that is open will have an underline under it to show that's the page. This is the home page. This is the about page. On the home page, I want to have a big slider that has covers, that will maybe pictures of the ministry that will be sliding there. So I wrote sliders. After that, the next thing I want is the core values, and I'll use iconic image to outline the core values. Then in this place, I want to have the founder. I'll have her picture here and the bit text about her in this place. Then here I want to have her Instagram and YouTube feed scrolling through. Then at the bottom, I just want to have the copyrights, something like copyright 2022, the Excellence Evangelical Ministry, or whatever. That's what I want to have. However, on the about page, I'll just have the header. I'm not going to have slide covers. Here will be the vision. Here will be the mission. Here we'll have the about ministry. Do you see what a slide map is? A sitemap is? Please tell me in the chat box, yes, if you really understand what I'm doing. I intentionally did not use Microsoft Word. I used my pen and I snapped what I had done to show you. It's easier for me. If you can get a sketch pad. Sketch pads are not expensive. Sketch pads are not expensive. You can get a sketch pad, or you can get this A4 paper. This is what I use for my own. And instead of you using biro like I use, that's a pen. You can use a pencil so that you can clean anything you're not clear. You can, before you even start building the client website for the client, you can do this. Use ruler, do it neatly, use your pencil, snap it and send to the client. Is it okay? Is this something like this? Will something like this work for you? Do you understand? It's very important. But even if you don't send the client, it will help you. You look at all the conversations you guys have had back and front, you understand, and you use it to illustrate. Because when you start developing the website, they will ask you, what content do you need? If you don't have a sitemap, you say, well, when I get there, I will give you. You don't know what to ask them for. But now, looking at this, You can use Miro, you can use anything, you can even use your notepad, you can use Microsoft Word, anything that works for you. I am a pen and paper person. When I'm thinking, I usually want my phone on silence. I don't want distraction. I have so many sketch pads. So I want to use I want to use pencil to draw my thing. So you want to be clear. So now if somebody is asking, okay, can I give me a sec? So if somebody is asking for what content they need, because I have my sitemap, I'm going to show you the next page. You know, I told you we are building 5 pages. This is the home page. This is the about page. One thing I kept consistent is the header and the footer. The header is the top. The footer is the last place. They are consistent. They will have copyright, and they will have, this is WhatsApp icon, a chat icon. And then they'll also have this Instagram feed down. Now I'm going to show you, we eventually realized that she didn't need different pages. She just wanted a one pager. So I did a one pager for her, and her Instagram was not connecting. So we used Facebook feed. So we had some tweaks. Eventually we built this website, and I'm going to show you. But then the header and footer are consistent. If you look at the next one, this is the program page. This is the contact, and this is the blog. So like I said, on the header, the logo will be on the left, the menu on the right. And for the menu, any menu that is active will have an underline on it. That's the way we put it. That's the way I want it to be. So it will be highlighted. So maybe others will be white. That one will be green with a highlight to know that that's the page that you're on. And then you have this slide covers, you have the core value, you have the founder picture. So the header for all of them are the same, the footer is the same, sorry. Then you have this feed as well down here. So you have the about one. So if she now asks me, what do you need to develop the website? I will come here. Okay, I need pictures because I know I'm going to do the slide cover. So I'm like, I need pictures, please. I need pictures, as many as possible, high resolution pictures, beautiful pictures, just send them to me. For the core values, I'm going to use iconic image, but I will say, please tell me your core values. So if their core value, one of the core values, for example, is focus, I will look for an icon that I want to use an icon to depict it. Maybe an icon for focus might be an eyes that is focusing on something or something. So I said I'm going to use iconic image. Maybe another one is excellence. I will use something, an iconic image that depicts that. Then because I said, oh, I'm going to have the founder, the picture, and the text. So I'll say, okay, please send me your profile headshots, like your profile headshot. I need it. I also need a brief about you. I know that this is about your ministry, but I need a brief about you because I know I'm going to put it here. However, how will you know you need all those things if you don't have a sitemap? So you'll be going back and front, and that's why it will take 1 million hours. But if you've prepared all these things beforehand, oh, you in 1 hour or 2, once you have everything you need, you finish the website. So you have, but however, this is the home page. But now the subsequent pages, this header and about is the same. So we'll have the header here and just have this is about us to be written there. If you look at this one, programs, contact, blog, and then their own things will be there. So the program, I decided I wanted to put it in this kind of table, title, text, title 2. So for example, I might put here visitation, then the text will be what visitation is about. Here, I'll put the text, and I'll put here counseling, and I'll put what the counseling is all about. That was how I put. So this, just the title will be here, the text will be here, text will be here, title will be here. So that's what a sitemap literally looks like. Usually when you have a sitemap and you want to start choosing your theme, it becomes easier for you because you're more informed. You now know what theme most likely looks like what I want to build, and then you can now take it up from there and modify it the way you want it to be modified. So you don't have to do too much modification and going back and front. So that's basically what a sitemap is. Are we clear? Please tell me clear in the chat box if we are clear. Just tell me clear, please. If we are clear, just tell me clear so that we can just go ahead. Tell me clear if we are clear. So I'm just going, once we get done with this clear, I will just explain. I'll just show you some site. Fantastic, thank you. So I'm going to open this website now. Okay, let me first open this one that I told you we eventually built a one-pager website, and I'm going to show you the difference between a one-pager website and a website with pages, multiple pages. So this website that I had shown you on the sitemap, we had eventually decided to build just a one pager instead of something serious. So let me quickly open some websites for you, just some quick websites that just have different looks so that you can see for yourself what we're talking about. So this is opening. This is the website we talked about. Pardon my network. It's a bit slow, but it's loading up really fast. But if you have questions, ask. Let me see. Okay, the logo is still coming up. But do you see, when I highlight on this, do you see, this is blue. This is home. I had it on the line. This is what I call the slide covers. It's still loading, but then it can literally slide. It's still loading, don't worry. And then if you remember, I told you for all the footers, we put a chat icon. So I'm going to teach you that. There are free plugins where you can use to put live chat or chats icon on the website. So it's still loading, but this slider, there are 2 slides, so you can slide. I did this website under 1 hour because I had all the information that I need. I'm sorry, Judith, that I was fast. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is, do you see, I got this icon for the vision. So when you click on it, pops up the vision, the mission, and then I maintained this where I said we're going to have a picture and then a brief text about, and then these are the core values. For most people, their core values are just 1 word or max 2 words, but she had like what do you call it now, sentences. So I put it together, and then I have her gallery still loading, but it usually will be sliding. And then this is her Facebook page. So you can see her Facebook page when you come to the site, and you can literally like the page. She didn't want her Instagram there. She didn't want her Instagram there. Blessing, don't worry about the icons. I will show you where to get icons. But if you take the Canva class, it was also illustrate. It was also, we also mentioned where you can get icons from for free. We mentioned that in the Canva class. So if you've not taken, go and take it. I mentioned where you can get free icons. You can also even get icons from Canva as well. So then these are her contact options. This is her footer, the copyrights. This is just what it is. So we eventually did a 1-pager. So even though it has the menu, it's a 1-pager. Let me show you. If I click on about, it takes you to the about section. If I click on gallery, it takes you to the gallery section. And then if I click on contact, it takes you to the contact section. This is a 1-pager. Do you see the, I told you it's a 2 slider. So she just wanted something simple. Just put it out there for me, please. Just something simple. This is an example of a simple 1-pager website. Before we continue, Blessing asked about icons. Blessing, if you go to Canva and you go to Canva, is very rich. That's why I said Canva. I keep emphasizing on Canva. Not like that's the only tool I can use to design. And tomorrow, it's very important that you're proficient in it to help. So if I go to Elements and I click on Focus, it's going to show a lot. Do you see icons related to focus? Do you see? If you scroll, you see ones that link to it. And you can always pick the one you want, and then you download it without a background in the size that you want. Yeah, there. Though you don't have to go to Google. These ones are royalty, like they're already paid for you. You don't even have to run into trouble. So go and watch the Canva course. It's very important. Continuing with this. So this is a 1-pager. This website is also a 1-pager. Now this one, she has a ministry, so she has this logo. This one, she's an individual. She's a personal brand. So she didn't have a logo. But because her name is already here, I had to create a quick logo. In fact, I did this with Canva in less than 10 minutes just to have a C. And because she's a design person, not fashion designer, more like strategic designer, but usually they create things. That's why I put the flowers. I just had a C. People usually have their logos. The logos might be their picture or something small, but she wanted a logo, so we just did something simple. And then if you see, this is the menu, and then she has her social media icons here. Everything here was literally built from scratch, Elementor. I didn't even use, I'm going to show you some things. I didn't even use some things like templates. I'm going to show you what templates are tomorrow, you see that we literally did this site together last night. We worked on it together last night, she and I. And so I'm happy to share it with you. So this is her. And then she has this about her page, right? And then she has a career interest. She loves these fonts, they're calligraphic fonts. I hope you have watched you have taken the Canva course. It's very important, especially the first part, an eye for design, kind of helps you a lot. And then we have the experiences and projects. And we have her recognitions and affiliations. And we have her portfolio. That's some projects she's handled. And then we have skill set and competence. And we have her gallery. It's a slider as well, maybe network. Then she has newsletters she gives out periodically, as well as the footer. This is her website. It's a one-pager. Forget that you see all these headings there. If you click on About Me, I think this website didn't load fully. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm reloading it again, but okay, if you click on About Me, it takes you to the About section. You click on Experience, it takes you, it's a one-pager. That's what a one-pager looks like. So that is a one-pager does not mean it will not have menu. So you can have the sections linked to the menu, but her impact here is redirected. It takes you to another website, which is the website for her foundation. This is her foundation. So the impact takes you to that website. The third example I want to give you is my own website. My own website was also built with Elementor, but it's not a one-pager. So you have the home page, which is this that you can see, right? But then when you click on the About page, it takes you to another page altogether. So this is a slider. I always love to have sliders as my heading. But do you see what this is? This is the About Us. This is a difference from when we're designing the sitemap. We said the home page had slider covers, but other pages, this is what they had. The About, a smaller header, program contact. That's basically how my website is like. So this is the About. It has a small header. If you also go to the portfolio, you'll see that the header is basically like that, About Us, and every other sub page will actually be like that, right? But the home page is, it has the big slider. Of course, that's the point where you come in once you come into the website. So this is not a one-pager website. This is a multiple website. But it doesn't make it, I think it's preference, and it also depends on the content you have. And maybe because I'm not paying anybody to do it for me, I did it by myself. So I can freestyle if I want. I can even delete it and do another one. It's me, it's my own. That's the beautiful thing about these things. And then even if you pay someone to do it for you, if you want to edit, you can always go in and edit by yourself. So a sitemap just basically makes your work easy, just makes it easy, Trust me, it helps you know what you need. And so when you're ready to do your website, you just clear the air and you just do your thing.